Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Friday the 29th of October comes to you from London. And we're seeing in energy markets, we had big falls yesterday, and the key thing is we haven't bounced. We're actually 2.2% lower this morning on TTF. MBP's down by slightly less, but we are just seeing basically after big falls yesterday, we're not bouncing and recovering, so that's quite significant for markets, and we'll take a look at the targets in a minute. So first of all, just looking at the macro, just looking at what's going on in the world. The dollar fell quite heavily yesterday, so short term we're back to bearish, but the medium term trend is still very much up. This is my weekly, my daily, and my 60-minute charts, my long term, medium term, and short term view of the market. If we look at the euro, that of course has then jumped against that weaker dollar, so we're seeing some strength returning there, but of course the downtrend in the medium term is still very much in place. And against the Japanese yen, we've fallen back to 113.66, so not a massive fall there, but we are just seeing the dollar just trending lower there this towards the end of the week. Sterling is lower at 137.85, but that weaker dollar has allowed sterling to recover a little bit. It actually hasn't had a bad month against the dollar. The low point was in October, and if we look at sterling against the euro, we're holding that 118 level, so still at 18-month highs, which looks pretty good there. Interestingly, we're seeing the Aussie dollar up against sterling, and some quite clear targets. Sterling weaker against the Aussie. Aussie 10-year yields gone above 2% on the 10 years, so and we saw the interest rate rise in New Zealand, of course, so markets starting to price in an interest rate rise in Oz, which would effectively drive the currency higher. Bitcoin holding the $60,000 level, so that's quite key there. We're looking quite strong. And we look at the US market, it was up nearly 1% yesterday on the S&P, taking us to a new high. So US equity is still looking pretty strong. NASDAQ also pushing to a new high, looking quite strong there. Results out from Apple and Amazon last night, providing some caution with the global supply chain, so it'll be interesting to see how the market reacts to that. And in fact, we are already seeing the futures down in the US. The S&P future down 0.4%, and the Nasdaq E-mini down 0.75. So we are seeing a reaction there, and that's also created a rise in the VIX volatility, up 5% to 17. So all eyes will be on the tech giants at the opening in the US. UK FTSE is down just slightly, making a new 12-month high, the FTSE, and we're seeing the DAX in Germany is down 0.5% this morning, CAC down 0.2%. So European markets generally weaker. Looking at the Hang Seng, we're down 0.7% there, but the composite in China actually up 0.7%. So a bit of a seesaw there. China's still looking weak on that short-term chart, but holding on to its long-term trends. And India's had a pretty bad week. We see that weekly candle there on the end. But we still do have the targets very much in train. That will lock in this new target, so we will get a new, if we make a new high, we activate an even higher target. So very significant that we are seeing these targets creeping in on the Indian market. Still looks pretty good. Aussie was pretty badly hit, and down 1.4% again. The bond yield move there, but having a bit of an effect on the market. So Aussie shares weaker. We'll look at the energy mix in a minute. Soft commodities, just look at wheat, still looking ripe for a breakout long term, but just falling away a little bit today. Interestingly, we're seeing gold just below that $1,800 mark. Just can't hold $1,800 no matter how hard it tries. So quite a few false dawns of late with gold, and silver down 1% this morning, so that's quite key. Palladium actually up 0.5%, but overall precious metals still in the doldrums. Taking a look at US 10-year yields, we're sitting at 1.61%, so back into the 160s. The 30-year above 2% again, so we're still driving towards these targets to the upside. German bond future just sitting below this 169 level, and of course what we're really watching is for a fall below that 167.50 level. That would be pretty bad news for German bonds, and that's the bond future, of course, the Bund. Looking at the energy mix, we've got Brent crude up slightly this morning, bounced yesterday. It's interesting, we're seeing crude oil bouncing with upside targets, but we've not seen similar on the gas markets. We have actually seen US nat gas holding on. It did fall away yesterday, holding the cloud support there, and we've got a target $6.10, so looking strong there. Coal sitting at $111. It was the first product really to break, which we flagged last week, and the key thing is we are just trading lower, so we're looking to these downside targets. 112 is the downside target. We're sitting at 113, so not far off that. And then there's a very big downside target to watch there as well. Emissions, we're sitting at 59 euros this morning, actually holding on better than most products in energy in Europe. So we're seeing a little bit of a bounce there. So looking okay, but we have activated this downside target, so we need to be aware that there are targets into the mid-50s. MBP we talked about this morning is down 1.7%, so that's quite key. And we do have these targets here, so really watching the 1 minute. Watch these on your OTC data. Market's really uncertain, could go either way, neither target activated, but we'll see that play out today. Don't be surprised to see weakness creeping in as we come to the end of the week. Targets are really much clearer on TTF. Got a downside target to 74, and this target to 68 has been in place since the 27th of October, so you really can't ignore these targets, and we've got targets here also into the low 60s, so that's quite key as well. Looking at German power, we're down slightly this morning. Again, multiple downside targets. Keep an eye on your OTC data, but for the moment, that's we're seeing that lower low being really significant, and no real signs of a recovery. So energy markets really have tipped this week, and it's all changed. And even if you look at the Nordic power market, we're down 2% on the CAL, 5% on the quarterly. And of course that has been in a negative phase for quite some time. That's it for today. Have a great weekend. Until Monday, happy charting. See you then.